And I'm very glad I did, because actually if I'd finished my degree, by the time I'd have finished the degree, I would have got rid of this, it would have gone.
Manufacturing giants don't just stumble, they shatter. In Ontario's automotive heartland, an empire built over 3 generations lies bleeding. The screech of metal, the hum of motors, the pulse of production, all frozen in an industrial massacre that nobody saw coming. Your retirement savings? They're trapped in the crossfire. Your community's future? It's being rewritten by artificial intelligence. That manufacturing job you thought was secure? Technology and trade wars are about to make it extinct. In this video, we will talk about how Trump's latest move triggered an industrial apocalypse, why robots are replacing humans faster than anyone predicted, the secret battle that's destroying Canadian manufacturing, and a shocking solution that could change everything. This isn't just another factory closure story. It's a preview of manufacturing's future worldwide. And what happens next will determine whether North American industry survives or vanishes forever. Steel meets statecraft. The integrated production networks, stretching from Windsor, Ontario to Detroit, Michigan, were once celebrated as a triumph of industrial diplomacy. Together, they formed a seamless corridor of commerce, an ecosystem where manufacturing didn't recognize borders, only efficiency. Assembly plants on both sides of the border operated in harmony, like a synchronized dance honed over decades. Canadian steel rolled into American factories, while American engines powered vehicles assembled on Canadian soil. The Ambassador Bridge didn't just carry goods, it carried cooperation, jobs, and prosperity. This wasn't just about cars. It was about a shared economic identity, forged in molten steel and tightened by every bolt on every cross-border shipment. Canadian mining towns and American industrial cities became unlikely partners in a joint project, building not only vehicles, but a model for continental collaboration. And for a long time, it worked. The vehicles that rolled off the lines were not only symbols of mobility, they were icons of unity between two nations that trusted their future to each other's hands. The roots of this cooperation can be traced to the Automotive Products Trade Agreement of 1965. This groundbreaking pact laid the foundation for modern automotive integration across the continent. It wasn't just a trade deal. It was an industrial revolution that allowed companies to think beyond borders. Manufacturing centers in Oshawa, Brampton, and Windsor became crucial nodes in a continental supply chain, so intertwined that a single part might cross the border 5 or 6 times before reaching final assembly. The result was a web of economic interdependence that rewarded coordination and punished disconnection. Each crossing of the Ambassador Bridge represented more than just a part moving from point A to point B. It meant a paycheck for a machinist in Ontario, a welding job in Michigan, and supply contracts for small towns across both nations. Jobs, investments, and local economies were all inextricably tied to a rhythm of production that rarely skipped a beat. But all of that depended on one thing: stability. When trade policies began to shift, first subtly, then violently, the system that had taken decades to perfect suddenly felt like a house of cards. Political winds no longer just changed interest rates or diplomatic tones. They struck at the very heart of the North American industrial identity. What was once the system's greatest strength, its complexity and interdependence, had become its greatest vulnerability. The cross-border dance, just-in-time manufacturing, long praised as a marvel of modern logistics, revealed its darker side. The very efficiency that eliminated waste also eliminated margin for error. A single delay at the border, caused by new paperwork, stricter inspections, or retaliatory tariffs, could grind production to a halt. Workers were sent home, shifts were canceled, and profits vanished. Border delays no longer meant a few hours lost. They meant entire contracts falling through. Technology integration became mandatory as companies scrambled to install real-time shipment tracking, predictive analytics, and smart logistics systems. But not every player in the supply chain had the resources to adapt. For many small suppliers, the new demands were an existential threat. Either invest heavily in tracking systems and compliance upgrades, or risk losing their place in the production line entirely. The border, once a symbol of cooperation, became a dividing line. It was no longer invisible. It was felt in every late shipment, every delayed production run, every lost job. Supply chain managers, once focused on reducing costs and maximizing throughput, became crisis managers. Their new job was to anticipate political risk, diversify suppliers across borders, and respond to unpredictable tariffs. The once elegant choreography between Canadian and American manufacturing transformed into a nervous, fragile balancing act, one where the smallest misstep could be fatal, and the consequences rippled outward. This isn't recycled news. We mapped the entire manufacturing collapse, down to the lost contracts and dying supplier networks. You now see how one delay at the border can shut down a whole town. If that hit hard, back us with a like and subscribe, because no one else is telling it this raw. Communities in balance. Nowhere were the effects felt more acutely than in the communities that had built their identity around the automotive industry. In Windsor, where 1 in 6 jobs depended directly or indirectly on auto manufacturing, the slowdown struck like a wrecking ball. Entire neighborhoods saw property values plummet. Some areas experienced a 25% drop almost overnight. It wasn't just homes that lost value, it was futures, college savings, and retirement plans. Municipal budgets collapsed alongside corporate ones. With fewer workers on the job, tax revenues dipped. Essential public services, transit, infrastructure, even emergency services faced cuts. Meanwhile, local businesses that served plant workers, coffee shops, diners, tool stores, saw their foot traffic evaporate. The community fabric, once tightly woven by the predictability of manufacturing life, began to fray. Efforts to stem the tide came quickly, but felt like stopgaps. Worker retraining programs emerged, promising new opportunities in fields like robotics, coding, and logistics, but they offered little solace to individuals who had spent decades honing mechanical skills. The promise of a new trade in a digital field felt distant, sometimes even insulting. Pride in building something tangible had been replaced by webinars and certification programs. Community colleges scrambled to meet demand, launching crash courses in advanced manufacturing and supply chain software. Still, the transition was uneven. Younger workers adapted more quickly. Older workers faced emotional and technical hurdles. The shift wasn't just about skills, it was about identity. Yet amid the upheaval, there were signs of hope. Empty factories found new life as innovation hubs. Startups, drawn by inexpensive real estate and a workforce hungry to contribute, began moving in. Research partnerships with universities brought funding and energy into once dormant towns. The industrial scars of yesterday became test beds for tomorrow's technologies. Communities didn't simply accept the collapse. They started writing a new chapter, but it was clear. Reinvention would require time, resources, and a vision strong enough to outlast the turbulence. Legacy meets reality. As trade wars intensified and political uncertainty deepened, Ontario's automotive sector entered uncharted territory. What had once been a finely tuned machine, a marvel of binational coordination, now sputtered under the weight of tariffs, border delays, and broken trust. Yet through it all, the region's legacy of resilience remained its most powerful asset. Manufacturers, workers, educators, and community leaders all understood what was at stake. This was more than just economic hardship. It was a battle for relevance in a world reshaped by artificial intelligence, supply chain realignment, and environmental pressures. Those who couldn't adapt would be left behind, not just by competitors, but by history. The next phase of this story doesn't begin on an assembly line. It begins in strategy rooms, policy chambers, and design labs. Because what comes next will determine whether North America's industrial core can survive the century or fade into a footnote. And with that, we now turn to the next chapter: how tariffs became the most dangerous weapon in modern manufacturing, redefining power not just across nations, but across every inch of the supply chain. The tariff storm. A crisp morning in Ottawa morphed into a day of economic reckoning, as trade officials announced what many feared: steel and aluminum tariffs hitting 25% and 10% respectively. Your retirement savings weren't just numbers anymore. They became bargaining chips in a continental game of chicken. The impact thundered through Ontario's automotive corridor like a sonic boom, transforming decades of industrial certainty into immediate crisis. Sandra Mitchell, Chief Financial Officer at Windsor's largest Tier 1 supplier, remembers the moment precisely. My screen lit up with alerts. Steel futures jumped. Aluminum contracts surged. In 30 minutes, our entire financial model needed reconstruction. Her team worked through 72 straight hours, recalculating costs for 8,000 different components. Manufacturing costs skyrocketed overnight. A typical Ontario assembled vehicle required 2,000 pounds of steel, and 300 pounds of aluminum. Simple math transformed into corporate nightmares. Each car now cost an additional $700 to produce. Multiply that across hundreds of thousands of units, and the industry faced a multi-billion-dollar crisis. Small suppliers, operating on margins of 3 to 5%, faced immediate extinction threats. Plant managers scrambled to adjust production schedules. Finance departments worked through weekends, recalculating margins that suddenly looked paper-thin. Corporate boardrooms buzzed with emergency meetings as executives faced impossible choices: absorb the costs and slash profits, or raise prices and risk losing market share. The ripple effects reached beyond the automotive sector. Steel fabricators serving construction, appliance manufacturers, and agricultural equipment makers all faced similar pressures. Ontario's industrial base, built on reliable access to reasonably priced materials, confronted a new reality where every pound of metal carried political weight. Supply chain scramble. The intricate web of automotive supply chains, crafted over half a century, began unraveling thread by thread. Companies that once prided themselves on just-in-time delivery now struggled with just-in-case stockpiling. Warehouse space, previously considered wasteful, became precious real estate as manufacturers hoarded materials ahead of potential tariff increases. James Chen, logistics director at a mid-sized parts manufacturer, describes the transformation. We went from holding 2 days of inventory to 30. Our carrying costs exploded. Insurance, storage, material handling, everything multiplied. Efficiency became secondary to survival. Small suppliers bore the heaviest burden. Family-owned businesses that had supplied brackets, fasteners, and components found themselves caught between rising material costs and inflexible contracts. Third-generation manufacturing companies faced extinction, not from lack of skill or dedication, but from geopolitical forces beyond their control. Technology adoption accelerated as companies sought efficiency gains to offset rising costs. Artificial intelligence-powered inventory management systems, once considered luxury investments, became survival tools. Quality control automation expanded, not just to improve consistency but to reduce labor costs wherever possible. The border itself became a source of strategic advantage. Companies with facilities on both sides gained flexibility in production planning. Those without cross-border operations scrambled to establish partnerships, joint ventures, or satellite facilities. The geography of manufacturing transformed as businesses sought tariff arbitrage opportunities. The disruption extended into surprising areas. Transportation companies specializing in cross-border shipments saw their business models upended. Customs brokers hired additional staff to handle increasingly complex documentation requirements. Even real estate developers adjusted their plans as warehouse demand surged near key border crossings. Workers' gambit. Union halls across Ontario filled with anxious workers as strategy sessions stretched into the night. The United Auto Workers and Unifor leadership faced a delicate balance: fight for their members' interests while acknowledging the existential threats facing their industry. Wage negotiations took on new complexity when the very survival of plants hung in the balance. Mike Riley, a 30-year assembly line veteran and union steward, witnessed the transformation firsthand. We used to negotiate over wages and benefits. Now we're discussing automation timelines, retraining programs, and severance packages. Every contract talk feels like a fight for survival. Retraining programs emerged as both opportunity and challenge. Computer programming, robotics maintenance, and supply chain management became essential skills. Workers who had mastered the mechanical intricacies of automotive assembly now grappled with digital interfaces and automated systems. The pride of craftsmanship evolved, but didn't diminish. It transformed. Healthcare benefits, pension plans, and job security measures all faced scrutiny. The social contract between workers and manufacturers, established through decades of negotiation, weathered unprecedented stress. Yet amid the uncertainty, innovation emerged. Worker-led efficiency initiatives demonstrated that frontline expertise remained invaluable, even in an age of automation. Community colleges partnered with manufacturers to develop accelerated training programs. Virtual reality systems allowed workers to practice new skills without risking expensive equipment. Senior employees became mentors, passing down decades of manufacturing wisdom while learning new digital tools alongside their younger colleagues. The human cost extended beyond the factory floor. Marriages strained under financial pressure. Children's college plans faced reconsideration. Community organizations reported increased demand for mental health services and financial counseling. The industrial transformation rippled through every aspect of workers' lives. The Mexican question. Production decisions, once driven by logistics and labor skills, now centered on tariff avoidance. Mexico's automotive sector gained newfound attention, not just for its lower wages, but for its growing technical capabilities and strategic trade agreements. Every announcement of Mexican expansion sent tremors through Ontario's manufacturing communities. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, automotive industry analyst at the University of Toronto, explains the shift. Mexico invested heavily in technical education and infrastructure. Their engineering schools now produce 70,000 graduates annually. The quality gap between Mexican and Canadian manufacturing has narrowed significantly. The numbers told a compelling story. Mexican automotive workers earned an average of $4.75 per hour, compared to $35 in Ontario. But the true calculus extended beyond wages. Infrastructure quality, supplier networks, workforce training, and political stability all factored into investment decisions that would shape communities for generations. Technical expertise, long considered Ontario's competitive advantage, faced challenges as Mexican engineering programs produced growing numbers of skilled graduates. The question wasn't simply about cost, it was about the future of North American automotive manufacturing. Where would innovation happen? Which communities would thrive? Who would lead the transition to electric and autonomous vehicles? Investment patterns revealed the growing complexity. While some companies shifted basic assembly operations to Mexico, others expanded their Ontario research and development facilities. The province's manufacturing expertise began evolving into technical leadership. Innovation centers sprouted in traditional manufacturing regions, combining practical knowledge with cutting-edge research. Local economic development offices adapted their strategies. Instead of competing solely on manufacturing costs, they emphasized Ontario's strengths in research, development, and advanced manufacturing. Universities expanded their automotive engineering programs, focusing on emerging technologies like electric powertrains and autonomous systems. Amid these shifts, Ontario's automotive sector refused to concede defeat. Innovation centers sprouted in traditional manufacturing regions. Research partnerships between universities and industry players accelerated. The province's deep pool of manufacturing expertise began evolving, combining traditional knowledge with cutting-edge technology. As the sun sets on another tense day in Ontario's automotive corridor, the next chapter in this industrial evolution takes shape. The province that helped birth North American auto manufacturing now races to define its future. The transformation extends beyond factory floors into research labs, startup incubators, and technical schools. The story now shifts to a revolution not in trade policy, but in manufacturing itself. Artificial intelligence, advanced robotics, and the Internet of Things promise to remake automotive production. Ontario's challenge: transform centuries of manufacturing excellence into leadership in the digital age. The stakes remain existential, but the battleground has shifted from tariffs to technology. Manufacturing revolution. Darkness blankets Ontario's automotive corridor, but through factory windows, an eerie blue glow illuminates the future. Robotic arms dance in perfect synchronization, their movements guided by artificial intelligence that never sleeps. This isn't just automation, it's the birth of intelligent manufacturing, where machines don't just build cars, they think about how to build them better. Mark Zhang, lead engineer at Oakville's newest digital factory, stands before a wall of screens displaying real-time production data. These systems process 10 million data points per minute, he explains. Gesturing to a neural network visualization, they detect problems before human operators even realize something's wrong. The transformation reaches beyond robotics. Digital twins, virtual replicas of physical production lines, allow engineers to simulate changes without risking actual production. Augmented reality headsets guide maintenance technicians through complex repairs, while machine learning algorithms optimize everything from energy usage to quality control. Digital assembly. The revolution starts on the factory floor. Traditional assembly lines morph into flexible manufacturing cells where autonomous mobile robots ferry components between workstations. Each vehicle under production carries a digital signature, communicating its specifications to every piece of equipment it encounters. Sarah Chen, production supervisor with 25 years of experience, watches a collaborative robot, Cobot, working alongside human operators. These machines adapt to each worker's style, she notes. They learn individual preferences for timing and positioning, reducing strain and improving efficiency. Investment in these technologies reaches staggering levels. A single digital factory upgrade costs upward of $1 billion, yet manufacturers insist the expenditure is essential. Traditional plants operate at 65% efficiency. Digital factories push past 85% while reducing energy consumption by 30% and cutting defects by 40%. Smart supply networks. The transformation extends deep into supply chains. Artificial intelligence monitors global supply networks, predicting disruptions before they occur. Blockchain technology ensures component traceability, while digital contracts automatically adjust orders based on real-time demand signals. Traditional supplier relationships evolve into digital partnerships. Small parts manufacturers connect their systems directly to automotive assemblers, sharing production data and quality metrics. The distinction between manufacturer and supplier blurs as integration deepens. We're creating a nervous system for manufacturing, explains Dr. Rajesh Patel, Chief Technology Officer at a leading parts supplier. Every component, every machine, every process generates data. That data flows through neural networks, creating an intelligent manufacturing ecosystem that thinks and adapts. We walked through billion-dollar digital upgrades and the end of the traditional assembly line. This is the new face of manufacturing. You now know what most politicians and headlines won't tell you. If that opened your eyes, keep us going. Drop a like and hit subscribe. Workforce evolution. The human element of manufacturing undergoes its own revolution. Assembly line workers become manufacturing technologists. Their tool belts, supplemented with tablets and augmented reality glasses. The skills gap widens as demand for digital expertise outpaces traditional manufacturing knowledge. Training programs embrace virtual reality, allowing workers to practice complex procedures in simulated environments. Digital twins of entire production lines serve as sophisticated training grounds, where mistakes cost nothing but teach valuable lessons. Lisa McCarthy, Director of Workforce Development at Durham College, outlines the challenge. We're not just teaching new skills, we're creating a new type of worker. Someone who understands both physical and digital systems, who can work with robots while maintaining human judgment and creativity. Sustainable production. Environmental concerns drive another aspect of the revolution. Smart factories optimize energy usage in real time, reducing carbon footprints while cutting costs. Waste reduction systems, powered by artificial intelligence, approach zero-defect production. Electric vehicle production demands new manufacturing approaches. Battery assembly requires cleanroom conditions more commonly found in semiconductor factories. Traditional automotive workers adapt to laboratory-like environments, their steel-toed boots now complemented by static-free suits. Green manufacturing initiatives spread beyond final assembly. Suppliers face pressure to reduce emissions, while recycling programs grow increasingly sophisticated. Artificial intelligence optimizes material usage, while advanced analytics track environmental impact throughout the supply chain. The revolution extends into product design. Digital simulation tools allow engineers to optimize vehicles for both performance and manufacturing efficiency. The time from concept to production shrinks from years to months, while quality improves and costs decrease. The next chapter reveals how this manufacturing revolution reshapes communities, as traditional automotive towns reinvent themselves as high-tech manufacturing hubs. The transition brings pain and opportunity in equal measure, testing the resilience of Ontario's industrial heartland. Would you like me to continue with the next section detailing the community transformation and future outlook? Tomorrow's roads. Dawn breaks over a transformed Ontario automotive landscape. Where smokestacks once dominated, sleek solar arrays now capture morning light. Inside a former traditional assembly plant, engineers huddle around holographic displays, fine-tuning the production of electric vehicles that will reshape transportation's future. This isn't just adaptation, it's renaissance. $500 billion. That's the global investment flooding into electric vehicle production, and Ontario positions itself at the heart of this revolution. Battery manufacturing facilities rise from reclaimed industrial lands. Their clean room environments a stark contrast to the gritty assembly plants they replace. Dr. Rachel Chen, leading the province's Battery Innovation Center, gestures toward rows of experimental cells. "We're not just replacing engines with batteries," she explains, adjusting her safety goggles. "We're reimagining the entire automotive ecosystem." Each innovation in battery technology triggers dozens of manufacturing adaptations. The transformation demands unprecedented workforce evolution. Chemical engineers collaborate with traditional automotive designers. Software developers work alongside battery specialists. Old assembly lines give way to automated battery pack construction, where robots handle delicate cell placement with microscopic precision. Cross-border evolution. The United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement reshapes Continental automotive production. New rules of origin requirements mandate 75% North American content. Battery components face strict regional value requirements. Every manufacturer scrambles to reconfigure supply chains, creating opportunities for Ontario's emerging technical capabilities. Traditional cross-border vehicle production evolves into integrated technology development. Research facilities in Michigan collaborate with Ontario battery labs. Mexican manufacturing expertise combines with Canadian innovation. The border becomes less about moving parts and more about sharing knowledge. Community reinvention. Windsor's transformation epitomizes the broader evolution. The city's Economic Development Corporation reports 40 new technology companies establishing operations in former automotive supplier facilities. Startups focusing on battery recycling, autonomous vehicle software, and advanced materials create jobs that didn't exist 5 years ago. Educational institutions pivot rapidly. The University of Windsor launches a battery engineering program. Fanshawe College develops autonomous vehicle maintenance certificates. High schools introduce advanced manufacturing courses, preparing the next generation for jobs that blend physical and digital skills. Sarah Martinez, whose grandfather worked 42 years on traditional assembly lines, now leads a team developing artificial intelligence systems for quality control. "We're not just preserving manufacturing jobs," she notes, monitoring a bank of screens. "We're creating entirely new categories of work." The next shift. Looking ahead, Ontario's automotive sector bears little resemblance to its historical roots. Electric vehicle production dominates investment plans. Autonomous technology development accelerates. Manufacturing becomes increasingly digital, with artificial intelligence optimizing everything from energy usage to supply chain management. Yet amid the technology revolution, human expertise remains crucial. Veterans of traditional manufacturing bring invaluable problem-solving skills to new challenges. Their knowledge, combined with digital capabilities, creates unique competitive advantages. The province's automotive heritage evolves into its future strength. Global competition intensifies. China's electric vehicle manufacturers eye North American markets. European technology companies establish research centers across the continent. Ontario's success depends on maintaining its position at the intersection of manufacturing expertise and technological innovation. The sun sets on another day of transformation in Ontario's automotive corridor. Electric vehicles charge silently where muscle cars once roared. Software updates replace oil changes. Yet the fundamental spirit of innovation, the drive to build something better, remains unchanged. The province that helped create North America's automotive industry and now leads its reinvention. What emerges isn't just a new version of the automotive industry, it's a blueprint for manufacturing's future. The lessons learned, challenges overcome, and innovations developed will guide industrial evolution across sectors and continents. Ontario's automotive sector, once threatened with obsolescence, now shapes tomorrow's industrial landscape. Through decades of change, one truth remains constant. The road ahead belongs to those bold enough to reimagine what's possible. Ontario's automotive industry, with its unique blend of manufacturing heritage and technological ambition, accelerates into an electric, autonomous, and digitally driven future. The story of Ontario's automotive transformation continues to unfold. Each innovation, each investment, each newly trained worker adds another chapter to this industrial evolution. The province's automotive heritage proves not a burden, but a foundation, supporting the construction of something entirely new and uniquely Canadian. Who do you think will win this industrial war? Legacy manufacturers clinging to tradition or innovators rewriting the rules? Can North America rebuild its manufacturing muscle, or is the shift permanent? Drop your take in the comments. If this breakdown opened your eyes, like the video and hit subscribe for more. Thanks.